welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. I hope that you guys have been reflecting on what it is that you truly want in life, because I think that's your soul talking to you. What do you truly want, people? Just look at that. I'm Jasmine, and I'm your host, and today I am happy to have Amy Johnson with me. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Jasmine. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for accepting the invitation. I know you're a busy lady. So everybody, just for everybody who's listening who don't know who Amy Johnson is, would you like to share maybe a little bit of what you're up to?
Sure. Well, I am a trained psychologist, now work as a coach. I help people mostly around habits and anxiety. And that's what I love to do. I mean, I love to help. I love to just talk about how we work and how our thoughts work and who we are beyond our thoughts with anyone. But I have a real sweet spot for helping people who are struggling with those things, because I struggled with my own habits and my own anxiety for a long time. And a lot of what you talk about on your podcast and what we'll probably talk about today is what helped me really feel free from this and be in a place where I can still have anxious thoughts and feelings at times, and still have old concerns and old thoughts come back up, and just really not feel trapped by them, and I think for me, that's just the best that life can get. Like, we get to be fully human, but not feel trapped by our human experience. So that's what I do. And I love this understanding, and I just love to share it.
Very nice. I'm going to take my dog because she's hearing noises now and she's barking. So I'm going to let her go on the desk. Here you go, Lee. Okay, now sit with us. Sit with us, baby. So it's so funny because as you were talking, something popped up in my mind. So I was very anxious also. I remember, I think I had like 5 years of what's that? Sleeping, you can't sleep, insomnia. Mm-hmm. So I had like 5 years of insomnia, I remember. And, mainly it was just anxiety. Like, I can see that it was literally because I was anxious and I kept sleeping, and it was just growing and growing and growing. And I just couldn't be with the feeling that I had. And at one point I saw what anxiety was for me. And for me, it was the thoughts, discovering how it was just me feeding my thoughts constantly. It was like a thought would occur of something bad, because it was always something bad, and I would just feed it and grow it and grow it and grow it and grow it, and the more, so like it was like 5 years of just growing a lot of thinking. But as you were talking, what occurred to me, because a few days ago, I'm going to say days because it has been just a few days, I've been upset, annoyed, angry, ticked. And I was just, the more that I was upset, the more that I didn't want to be upset. The more I didn't want to be upset, the more I was upset. It's just like, and I was doing the same thing with the annoyance as I was doing with my anxiety.
Yeah.
And I read something, there was a post that I saw, and in this post they said something like, nobody taught us how to just sit with it.
Yeah.
Like, we want to fix it. We want to change it. We want to do something with it, but nobody showed us how to just be with it. And that literally busted the whole thing. Like, it was kind of like I was in this balloon of annoyance, of anger, of being ticked. And just reading that made it like bust. So that's what showed up when you were talking.
Honestly, I think that I've been seeing so much about that lately. I think that is like everything, because it's that resistance. It's like you said, like, oh no, I shouldn't be awake, and I shouldn't be thinking this, and I don't want to feel this way. And like you said, it just builds it and builds it and builds it. And then we say, I have an anxiety problem. Where did this come from? But it's not an anxiety problem. It's not an insomnia problem. It's like we're just pushing away what's just wanting to show up and move through. And you're right. No one taught us. And I think they didn't teach us to just sit with it because no one really understands that it is just energy. It's like, even in more recent years, when some therapists talk about, urge surfing or riding the wave of feelings and all of that, that's maybe a step in the right direction, but there's still this sense of like, okay, hold on, and you can handle it, and soon it'll be gone. There's still a lot of resistance built in that, maybe less than there was, right? But it's still like this strategy to get us through a bad feeling. And it's like, if we can just zoom out even further and see, it's just energy, and our mind decides it's bad or too much, or it's been long enough or whatever. But that's just our mind deciding that. Like, there is nothing inherently wrong with any feeling we ever have, and nothing dangerous about any feeling we ever have. It completely changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I really, something that is really attractive to me is the word, there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Like, for me, that's just like so liberating to hear. There's nothing wrong. And I forget it. Like,
yeah.
But I remember I was in this other personal development period where I was in this group. And in this group, like, they kept telling you, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. And it's not just with you. It's just, there's nothing wrong. Like, forget the with you. It's just, there's nothing wrong, period. Because, and then the more that I stayed in this understanding, I kept seeing that, no, actually, you guys are saying there's nothing wrong, but there's something wrong if I do that, if I do this, if I do that, if I do this.
Yeah.
So I kind of got out of it and really just started reflecting for myself on like, really, there's nothing wrong unless I say there's something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing wrong, because how could there be? There's nothing wrong unless you say it, or unless our mind tells us it and we believe that. So it's like our mind's job is to kind of go through life saying right, wrong, good, bad, right, wrong, safe, dangerous. I mean, it just works in these polarities, and it has a favorite and a least favorite. And I just think of our mind as like just putting a stamp on everything, right, wrong, good, bad. And so we're going to experience a lot of stuff as wrong. But if we can even see that is just our mind doing its job, that still doesn't make it wrong. And look at our lives. I mean, how often do wrong things happen that later are like the perfect thing? Like, pretty much every horrible thing that anyone has ever gone through, most of the time, a lot of the time, they look back and say, thank God that happened. That terrible thing was the best thing that ever happened to me. Now, it might take a long time to see that. Sometimes it doesn't take that long, but it kind of just all gets you thinking, like, well, what, the even right and wrong is totally made up. So we'll experience it, but it cannot be the truth.
Yeah. I remember telling my friends, I was like, I remember thinking, when I'm angry, it's just because I don't like what's going on right now. Yeah. Yeah. Every single time. Like, so if I could just stop doing that, then I would never be angry.
Life didn't match your mind's picture, so you're angry, right? And we are, but what's so cool about that too, I love how this conversation is just unfolding, but what I love about that is, like, it's so funny if you think about how often our mind says something else should have happened, or this shouldn't be happening, or whatever. And if you really look at that, I mean, that's constant, right? It's like, should be, shouldn't be, or even the way our mind's always looking at the future, like, someday this will be better, someday that'll be better about me or my life or whatever. It's having those conversations all the time. And things literally cannot be different than they are. Like that whole conversation about, let's say, what should have happened or shouldn't have happened, how can that be anything other than a mind just literally being creative and making stuff up? Like, how could it be that you or I should have, graduated from college a different year, or not dated that person, or done this with our money, or whatever? It couldn't be. It is a mind outside of that time making up an alternate reality and then making you feel bad today because that thing should have happened. And it's pure fiction. It's pure fiction. But we live in the feeling of that so much.
It's so funny because as you're speaking, I'm thinking, when I was in my 20s, I loved, oh my God, people that psychics.
Yeah.
I liked psychics. I would go see psychics. I mean, I wanted to know my future. Like the psychics will tell me. And it's so funny because they would speak and I'd be like, no. I'd be like, no, what you're saying, that doesn't work. There's this one guy who I went to see, and this is what he said to me. He says, there's a lot of shoulds in your life. You should get rid of those, but that was like the one psychic that made me go, there are a lot of shoulds in my life, and there still is a lot of shoulds. And now I'm seeing, oh, that's a should. Oh, that's a should. That's like really the shoulds are like were because I wouldn't change anything about my life right now. Like I've been single for a very long time, and I have people that say, how long have you been single? And then I say, how long I've been single? Like I've been single 30 years. And they're like, oh, what's wrong with you? But I wouldn't change it because I got to learn who I was, and I got to be with who I am. And there's the should, it just disappeared. Like I should be married, because I should have been married at 28, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
I should have been married at 28 and had 3 kids by 32.
Obviously.
So
Obviously should have. But it's so cool to see that, and what such freedom to now be in a place where you can see the prison that those beliefs have. And half the time we don't even realize that those are beliefs, like I should be here in my life. We just wake up every day and feel horrible or whatever, because those beliefs are running in the background, but we don't even recognize it. So that's what I love. Like as we start getting curious about thought, this stuff pops out more and we get to see it. And now you can be in a place where you're like, wow, if I was still believing I should have been married all those years ago and have 3 kids by now, I'd be miserable. But thank God you don't have to believe that.
Yeah. And I remember people calling me stubborn too. Like, oh, she's so stubborn. And I was like, you know what? I guess I am. I guess back then when I would hear it, it was like a bad thing. Like I'd make it a bad thing, and then I get upset and get angry. I am not stubborn. I just know what I like, and la la la. And just now I'm just like, oh, it looks like I'm stubborn. My dad sometimes says, he wants me to argue with people, and I don't argue. I just don't argue. I don't want to. It's just not fun for me.
Yeah.
And so he says, you let people step on you. And I'm just like, oh, well, I guess so.
Yeah.
Like if that's what you want to believe, then, but it's so freeing to be able to understand how it just doesn't mean anything, The cat wants to come in now. She's barking because the cat wants to come into the house.
Oh, geez.
So I want to talk. I love this conversation too. This is fun. So you started 5 years ago, Little School of Big Change.
Yeah.
So can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah. So 5 years ago, I had just written a book called The Little Book of Big Change, which it came out 5 years ago. And it was a book that I had been a couple years out of my own eating disorder, which I credit to this conversation, like this understanding that we're having. It helped me so much. And I really saw, oh my gosh, all these thoughts and feelings that feel like they have such a hold on me. Like we were saying earlier, I was resisting and pushing and trying to manipulate and saying, this is how it should go. And this is how it would be. And it just created this perfect storm of misery that I would try to get a break from by binge eating. So I started to see that more and more and really see like, oh my God, it's just this perfect storm. And I'm fighting it and resisting it, making it worse. So anyway, kind of long story. I came out of that habit, which I had for 8 years. And I was starting slowly, tentatively to share this with people. Most, who also had that habit. I was cautious because I'm like, I'm kind of new at this, but this really feels different this time. And it was different. But so anyway, a couple of years out of that, I wrote the book, The Little Book of Big Change. And it's mostly about habits and how we can see things differently. And then I was working with a lot of people one-on-one, and just really like a lot of coaches, recognizing, wow, I'm kind of having the same conversations. I mean, they think they're different. They think, oh, my issue's special, or I need a private talk with you because because I have this thing that no one else has. And then, you talk with enough people and you're like, yeah, there's no special issues. The details might be slightly different, but we're all doing the exact same things in the exact same way. And that really inspired me to want to create something that was more universal, where I could kind of walk people through the basics of what I was sharing. So that's what became my online school, which is a little school of big change. And so it kind of walks people through, it really starts with what we started with, in a sense, which is like, what if there's no problem? Like, what if you're habit free, anxiety free, peaceful, healthy, all is well? And there's this ticker tape of thought that we've just been very tuned into our entire lives. And it gets very habitual and it can get very painful. But when we start to see that that's all it is, we see that that's all it is, and a lot of freedom happens. So there's video lessons and that kind of walk people, like a pretty big curriculum that step by step walks people through this. And then I'm in there coaching and kind of helping in that way too.
How long does it last?
It's 6 weeks. So yeah, there's two versions. There's a 6-week course that I lead twice a year. And then in between those times, people can just get the videos and do it on their own in like a self-paced way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, you have a lot of people that took it. I mean, I know that we've had a few, I think season 4, I ended in season 3. I'm looking at my calendar now. I think I ended season 3 with some of your prior participants. And then I've done quite a few. I think I have Sarah Parker. I think she was with you.
Yeah.
Sarah Parker. I think is Maylene Kolotla with you? Yeah. See, so many people that came out of that. Wendy Bloom, of course, was with you. And there's this other lady that her name escapes me, but she's blonde and she laughs all the time, very loud. I know that she's coming out of you too. I forget her name, but she's coming up soon too. So, I loved every single one of them. Like, they really had a nice, grounded, peaceful energy to them.
Yeah. They're all people who went through the little school of big change, like for their own personal stuff. And then all those people you mentioned actually went through my coach training. So now they're out sharing this, talking with you and like supporting people. But, I think that's like probably anybody who's really has a grounding in this. You just get lighter, and I don't know. Yeah. There's just a nice feeling about people.
Yeah. I think I just went on, Rob Cook's We're Listening podcast.
Yeah.
For the 3PGC, the 3 principles governing community. I forget. Global community. There you go. And that's what I was telling him. I was like, I love having conversations with people and just helping them get out of the way and share what they truly have inside their hearts.
Yeah.
Because every single one of us here just have a different access. It's a different, for me, it's live the life you want, Yeah. I just love that when people live the life they want. Other people will be freedom. Other people will, but it's all the same thing.
All the same. Yeah. I love that.
About the whole thing.
Yeah. I love, I think for me, a lot of personally, it just feels like seeing this is just help me kind of keep my heart open a little more. There's less fear, there's less defensiveness, there's less guardedness, and those things they still show up. They're kind of just old psychological habits. I think things happen. I really, believe in the psychology side of things. I mean, things happen and we form defenses around those to protect ourselves. But how beautiful to kind of get to have those things pop up even after lifetimes and just see, oh yeah, I feel that. I feel the closing. I know that's not truth. I know that's just my mind trying to protect me from something that I don't actually need protection from. People are safe. Life is safe. And, again, you don't always feel like life is safe in every moment, but you start to know it more and more. And then those moments when you don't feel it, it's okay. Because you're like, okay, I'm having a crappy day. I feel closed. I feel guarded. Okay, that's fine. That happens in life, but you know the truth, Yeah.
Let me ask you, do you still have these moments of unconscious? Can you identify when something's there, but it's just unconscious. You're like, okay, something there.
Yeah. Like you mean like you kind of feel like triggered in a way, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I think for sure. And more often than before, I think, I don't know how to say it. It's almost like there tends to be it comes into consciousness a little more. Like I tend to be a little more onto it, but not always, for sure. And it kind of doesn't matter anymore too, which is also the cool part. It's like, okay, I'm feeling really triggered by something. I don't know what the heck that's about, but I also know it's just energy and it'll be gone in a minute and it doesn't mean anything, all that stuff helps.
Yeah. It's the doesn't mean anything that I'm getting caught up. I'm going to share with you where I was going, why I was asking the question, because I discovered or I literally saw, I was having, back in July, I was having some conversations that were difficult for me to have with other people. And somebody just said, do you think the world is out to get you? Mm-hmm. That's the question that was asked. Like, and it was just like, it wasn't I'm going to make you upset or anything. It was literally a genuine question. And I was like, kind of like,
yeah.
No, I don't think so. Maybe. And you want to laugh. Every time I get out of my house now, I see it. It's like the question slowed the thinking down. And when I open the door, I can see the thinking go, what's going to happen? Be careful. Something's there. Something's going to be there.
Yeah.
And I was just amazed at how often it's actually showing up.
Yeah.
It's like, OMG.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I get out of the car, I open the door and I'm thinking, okay, now I'm getting out into the world. Okay, what's going to happen? It's just,
Yeah.
And I can see where it's coming from. I can see my mom's always been like, be careful. My mom used to live in the country and she moved to the city, and her mother would be careful this. Like her mother had the rules, the rule book of which were, they were good rules. Like, I'm not saying that rules aren't important, but I'm saying, like, my grandmother would say, when you go out, watch your drinks. Don't let your drinks out. And that's a very good thing.
Yeah.
But it does instill fear, right? It does instill something.
Yeah.
So, but it's just intriguing. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you're talking about this, because I have been thinking about that for myself a lot lately too. And one thing I've been seeing is the value in feeling that, like somatically, like feeling that physically. And it might not, in your case, it's like you might just be leaving the house and you sort of have that little general thing and maybe just a little bit of tension because that thought is there or whatever. But to kind of notice that thought like you are, and also for me, like dropping into my body a little bit and seeing the tension of it. And for some reason, and then just kind of being in that physical constriction of it, because it's like, that's the manifestation of it. And I think we're so smart. We know the thought's not true, and we know where it came from. We get onto that stuff, but then that contraction is as a habit too. Like our bodies have habits. Yeah. So to really feel into that and kind of know, oh, okay, this heaviness I feel in my chest or whatever it might be. Oh, that's just that thought. I've been finding and playing with this with clients and stuff that tends to just break it up that much more and really help us see through it more.
Yeah. Well, very nice. I will definitely pay more attention because I know it's there. I know it's there, and I know it's habit because it's been there for a long time, because I didn't even see it, right, until somebody asked me the question. So there are some thought, and I've noticed also that, the more that I take layers out, the more new stuff shows up. Like, not like it's new stuff, it's old stuff that I just couldn't see. It's kind of like, I like to explain how there's a lot of stuff on my desk, and when I move one file, I see there's another one under.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's great. I think that's really like that can sound kind of like, oh man, I'm just going to be picking off layers forever. But we are. I think that's just a part of being a human with a psyche. It holds on to that stuff. And as long as we can even be kind of light and playful about that and see, look, if we weren't, I take it as sort of a sign that we're able to handle more now. I think we always do the best we can. And when people are in denial or we're repressing all kinds of stuff, that's still the system just doing the best it can. But as we get kind of healthier and able to feel and see more, we get to feel and see more, and we're getting down there.
Yeah. And it's okay, because you know what? We're human beings, and we're here to see, feel, think. That's what we're here to do. So might as well do it.
Yeah.
This is really interesting, which is, because I've always been, okay, no, I'm not going to feel this one. I'm going to feel this one. But I really noticed how when I didn't want to feel, I don't know, anger, well, I'm not going to say they're reversed, but let's say I didn't want to feel anger. There was like, for me, like a pancake is flat, there's one side and there's two sides, so if you're avoiding fear, you're avoiding fun. If you're avoiding anger, you're avoiding love or something to that, or hate. I would avoid hate, and therefore I wouldn't have love.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
That's so huge. I think that's so easy to miss. I think that's awesome that you're saying that and that you see that. And you're right. We do that innocently. And I just did a free class last week about the mental health crisis, I'll call it, but just over medication and all of that. And I'm not anti-medication at all, but it's like when we rush to something to just numb the pain, this is what people say, right? Like, now I don't feel like myself. It also numbed all my joy because of exactly what you're saying. We don't get that. And it's so interesting too. I think, like, for me, I talked like my little habit thing, similar to yours, is like kind of wanting to shut down and close out and stuff. And I can focus on, I want to be open, have an open heart and all of that. But if I'm shunning the part of me that also shuts down, then I'm not fully then I'm shutting down half of that polarity, you know what I mean? And I'm not opening. So in a weird way, it's almost like I have to love that part of me that also shuts down, because she does it for a reason. It made sense when I was 5, it doesn't make sense today, but it's not a bad thing. And there's something about that. Yeah. That just lets us love the whole thing, that opens up so much.
Yeah. Wow, Amy, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we've already hit our time. But before we leave, I would like you to give your, how do people meet you, talk to you, reach you?
Yeah, my website is dramyjohnson.com. And that's where everything lives. So you can find out about the Little School of Big Change. And I have a podcast also, and all kinds of other stuff that people can check out there.
Fantastic. What's the name of the podcast?
It's called Changeable.
Changeable. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you.
When I have these kind of conversations and you got me, I was like, oh, it makes sense.
Well, I love that you're just kind of so open and sharing your own stuff too. It makes it so easy to just really look at this stuff in a cool way.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope that everything goes well for you, and I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Jasmine.
Everybody else, I'm going to say, dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want. And I'll see you next week. Take care.